Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am Philanthropone, and I am back once again with another top 3 video here, this time for the month of October 2017. The month of October wasn't the greatest for Vive games in my opinion, although my number 1 pick was an absolute no-brainer, and I have one honorable mention, and that game is Oregon Quarter. And I know a lot of people after seeing this video will probably think that that game should be in the top 3, but I honestly didn't play it enough, and I only want to include games on the list that I've spent a decent amount of time with. So without further ado, here are my top 3 favorite HTC Vive games for October 2017. Number 3, Kartong. Kartong is a first-person stealth game that has one of the coolest art styles I've seen in VR. As I mentioned in my video for the game, it reminded me of a cross between Budget Cuts and Little Big Planet, which is one odd combination. The gameplay isn't groundbreaking, but I love the imagination behind it, and for the price of only $5.39, I can easily recommend checking it out. The game is set in a miniature cardboard city where the player is a test subject who has to survive some dire experiments using weapons made out of things you would buy at Office Depot or Michael's. The levels basically feel like you're in a school project made by a 10-year-old kid that was transformed by a deranged sociopath from a horror film.
Really cool. I love just the whole graphical art style. Everything is made out of like the stationery section from Target. Look, they're cardboard buildings, giant pencils holding things together, popsicle stick, street lamps. Basically now we want to collect pins. See, they're like your projectile weapons. Look at this, this looks like the Little Big Planet guy. And he's just like, his head is mutilated. Jeez.
The player has to rely on stealth and careful movement, with the ultimate goal being to reach the end of the level, which changes each time you play. You probably won't be playing the game for months and months, but it's definitely worth checking out if you appreciate unique art styles in video games with lots of detail. The game currently has a 92% positive review average on Steam, and I will note that the price may be back up to $8.99 by the time this video uploads. Number 2, Marshmallow Melee. Marshmallow Melee is a dungeon crawler where the player controls 2 to 3 tiny marshmallow warriors who can be equipped with various types of weapons and helmets. The weapons range from fish bones to swords to cactuses to roosters to bow and arrows, and the helmets provide unique special abilities such as healing, for example. Players can also upgrade their weapons and stats via a shop that appears every few levels. The first word that came to mind when I started playing Marshmallow Melee was polish. I ran into little to no bugs, had no performance issues, and was surprised that the game was even in early access, as it feels like a pretty complete experience. The gameplay is fun and very easy to learn, and you basically have to defeat a number of monsters in each level and avoid various obstacles like lava, spiked traps, and bumpers that can knock you over the edge of the level. Each level lasts for only a few minutes, so things are constantly changing, which gives each new level its own unique set of challenges. Also, if you're a fan of kiting in video games, namely in MMOs, then you can take great advantage of this tactic, and I was able to solo a couple of levels with one marshmallow dude who had a bow and arrow using this method, which is pretty cool, I must say, and kinda cheap. And number 1, The Gallery Episode 2, Heart of the Emberstone. All I can say is look out for this one being on my top 5 list for best Vive games in 2017. I'm not sure where it will rank exactly, but it's guaranteed a spot. The game immensely lived up to the hype in my opinion and exceeded all of my expectations. It's the best sequel I've played in VR, and I'm astonished at how well the devs continued this epic saga with gameplay that was entirely revamped for this episode, mainly because of the use of the gauntlet. If you were to play episode 1 today, some may argue that the gameplay would feel outdated now that the Vive has been out for about a year and a half. So there was some concern on my part that may carry over to episode 2, but boy was I wrong. Unlike the first episode, the gameplay revolves around the use of the gauntlet, which lets you levitate objects and is key to solving a lot of the puzzles. And if you watch my videos regularly, you may know that I'm very picky when it comes to puzzles in VR games, and I have to say, Heart of the Emberstone absolutely nailed it as far as balance goes. They were creative and challenging, but just below that frustration threshold that I often gripe about in VR puzzle games, which made solving them extremely gratifying and rewarding. One of the coolest puzzles in my opinion were the glorified loop wire games, so to speak, that you often have to complete in order to unlock doors or activate elevators. The goal is to guide an object through a mini obstacle course without coming in contact with anything. If you fail, you gotta start over.
I was so far. Oh.
I will admit that unfortunately the game does lose a lot of its 1980s nostalgia that I loved about the first game, but there are still cassette tapes to be found. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous, and although most story-driven games offer little replay value, I can easily see myself going back to play the Gallery Episode 2 at least one more time. The devs claim you can play Episode 2 without ever having played Episode 1, but I'd recommend doing Episode 1 because A, it's part of the story, and B, it's an awesome game as well. You can pick up Episode 2 for $29.99 or get a bundle with both games for $45. As for the game's length, playtime will vary, but it took me around 4 hours to complete, which is about double the length of Episode 1. And there you have it, guys. Once again, my top 3 favorite HTC Vive games for October 2017. As always, guys, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to know what my favorite Vive games are every month. And leave me a comment letting me know what your favorite games were for October. And let's all hope that more awesome Vive games release in the month of November. So that's it for this one. Thank you once again. See you next month. Peace.